Political controversy at the World Cup was always likely. And with just 2 days to go before the opening match, two incidents have hit the headlines. First, a Somali referee who was named African Referee of the Year has been withdrawn from the list of World Cup referees. This is after he was denied entry to the US. Omar Artan appears to have had the correct paperwork, so it's not clear why he was blocked. But the head of America's World Cup task force, Andrew Giuliani, accused Mr. Artan of talking to some very terrible people. While matches also take place in Canada and Mexico, the referee's base camp is located in Miami, and that means Mr. Artan would not be able to join the rest of the officials in between matches. In a statement from FIFA, they have said a host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and who is admitted into their country. Separately, and with Iran's players already in Mexico for their opening match, Iran's Football Federation has said its ticket allocation for the World Cup has been withdrawn. Neither football's governing body nor US organisers have commented on the Iranian accusation. But let's speak now to Mohammed Moody, who is a prominent Somali sports journalist who has been following the case of the Somali referee. Good to have you with us. Where is he now? And has he said anything about the fact that he is now not going to be able to referee at the World Cup, which is surely, Mohammed, the experience of a lifetime and the culmination of a career for him?
Thank you, Lydia, for having me today. Omar now is in Turkey and he's planning to back Mogadishu tomorrow, as he was denied and blocked to enter in the United States. I spoke to him 2 times since yesterday. He told me that he has not get this time any clarification that has been provided yet from the US why he was not enter in the United States. And he said that he's now a shock because he has been spent many years to be such a World Cup or to be a big stage. So he traveled from Kenya through Turkey and eventually arrived in the United States, but he was blocked. Before he got his visa, he was also difficult to get the visa, and that's why he went to the Kenya and then looking the visa for days, and then travel from Nairobi through Turkey to the United States. So tomorrow he'll back to Mogadishu.
We've had this accusation from Andrew Giuliani, who is part of the America's World Cup task force, who says that Mr. Artan has been talking to some very terrible people. Do you know what he's referencing there?
So far, no clear explanation has been provided, but he said he never talked to anyone. He grew up and raised a country that has been a war for many years. He has dedicated for sport, and he's a symbol of the country and also an African continent. He has won the best African referee of the year. He's also a public figure in Somalia. He has got also award from the Somali government that he has been promoting peace through football through peace. So he has no idea eventually what they call why they have not let him to be one of the referees in the World Cup. And he said, I don't know why they have rejected me. I never talked to anyone, and he has no idea about that. But the only thing he knows that he has a problem with the Somali passport, and the US government said that Somalia is one of the countries that has been restricted to travel for the Somali passport to the USA. That's the only issue that he knows so far.
Mohammed, thank you so much. Just to clarify as well, we have had some response in from the Somali government, who has backed him and his integrity. They have pledged their unwavering support and described Mr. Artan as a model of professionalism and also as of national pride, as Mohammed was just referring to there. Well, many critics of this year's World Cup are arguing that the World Cup is losing its meaning the moment the competition is being so restrictive. So here's the take of Amnesty International's head of sport, Stephen Coburn.
You know, if this can happen to an international referee, and we've also seen examples of journalists and others being denied visas, you can imagine the difficulties from everyday travellers going to the US. So it's one more example about how this World Cup is not fulfilling the promise of uniting the world. It's becoming divisive, it's becoming exclusive, and there's some urgent action need to be taken to make sure that everyone can participate in this World Cup.
What are your other concerns, Stephen, and Amnesty's concerns about human rights at this World Cup?
One of the biggest concerns we've got is around immigration enforcement in the US. We've all seen what's been happening in the US over the last 18 months. Last year, over 500,000 people deported from the US government, often in horrific ways and horrific conditions. There've been no guarantees at all from the US authorities or from FIFA that World Cup events, whether that's around stadiums or in neighborhoods, would not be targeted for immigration enforcement. So this puts a lot of fear amongst fans and communities, traveling fans and communities in the US, about can they gather safely to watch and enjoy this World Cup. And we really need to see much firmer and clearer guarantees for fans and communities that they will be safe and they'll be free to exercise their rights.
What do you make of FIFA's response to all of this? Firstly, on the referee saying it's up to the host nation to enforce their kind of rules. It's basically not in their remit, is what they're saying. But also, Stephen, I guess the lack of accountability that there appears to be from FIFA.
That's right. I mean, FIFA's response on this issue and other issues has been very, very weak. FIFA has, invested in an extremely close relationship with President Trump. We've seen that with the awarding of the FIFA Peace Prize, with endorsing President Trump's Board of Peace. Yet it's not used that leverage and that closeness to power to prioritize human rights in this tournament and to protect the rights of fans, of communities, of officials and players. Instead, it's been sort of relentlessly pursuing profit and proximity of power. And we feel it's got the priorities the wrong way round. FIFA should be standing up for the rights of people impacted by football, and it's not doing that.
Is there not also an issue, Stephen? I've covered World Cups in Qatar, and also I was in Moscow for the World Cup in Russia, that we talk about these things before kickoff, but once the matches get underway, everyone is just caught up in the joy of the game. And people say that's what it's about. It's about the actual football.
And that happens in most tournaments. And the reality of things, of course, it's an amazing sport. I love the World Cup. I watch the World Cup. I have done ever since I was a kid. And part of the issues around this event is that we want to see how the World Cup magnifies other issues in society going on. It's really important that we do that in the build-up so we can fix issues, but also during the tournament. Because if the eyes of the world are just on the pitch, but there are immigration raids taking place in communities, that's a real problem. We need to make sure that we are looking at what's happening during the tournament. We enjoy that as well, but also keeping an eye on what's happening in neighbourhoods, how are fans being treated, how are local communities being treated, and making sure that this really is a World Cup for everyone.